In today's photography tutorial, we're doing a little bit of a mix between some macro photography, some product photography, and some coin photography. I do have some really interesting and very unique coins that you're going to want to see. Stick around and I'll show you in just a sec. Hi guys, I'm Ben from Adaptalux, and as some of you will probably know by now, I'm a little bit of a nerd. I like to do a lot of video gaming and tabletop gaming, which is something that we're talking about today. I did mention that we're shooting coins though, and coins generally don't go hand in hand with rolling dice. That is unless your coins are also dice. Now, I play Dungeons & Dragons, and Dungeons & Dragons requires a dice set with all sorts of different die in them. So most people are used to a 6-sided die, but Dungeons & Dragons uses 8-sided dies, 12, 20, 100-sided die. Now, we don't have a 100-sided die today, but we do have all of those others in the form of some coins. So let's take a look at what we're actually photographing today. They're called the Pieces of Fate, but they're actually Flipdie from Yarrow Studios. So they come in this really nice box. I'll get rid of that. Very nicely packaged with nice artwork on the inside. But these are the coins just here. You can see that they're all different colors and they've all got unique designs. And it's those designs that I want to capture in really great detail today. But let's take a closer look at one of these coins and see what they actually do. So you can see here all of that nice detailing on the coin. They are a little bit thicker than a normal coin, but there's unique artwork on both sides of each coin. A lot of work has been put into these. I ordered these on Kickstarter over a year ago, and they've finally turned up, and they are, well, fantastic quality, so I'm really happy about that. You can see that we've also got some colored inlays here with some numbers on them, and this is where our dice come in. So we've got a coin, and naturally you want to flip a coin, but how do you get the numbers? Well, there's this little ball bearing just on the inside of the coin which moves around. So every time you flip this coin, that ball bearing is going to go to a different spot. We also have over here a lovely little mat which is used to flip the coins on, and I can see that that is over here at number 2. So every time you flip the die, it's going to go to one of the 2 sides, but then also one of the 3 numbers on each side. So this is a 4. Every time you roll the coin, or well, flip the coin, we've rolled a 4 again, you're going to get a different result here. So each of these little numbers is really clear and easy to spot when you find that ball bearing. Let's take a look at a different one. So over here we've got sets of 10 with, I think this is, yeah, a vampire themed coin, again with that red detailing, but this time a silver ball bearing. We've got the D20, so there's 20 possible numbers that you could come out with over here, and this one is dragon themed, so nice gold and silver with a red ball bearing. I want to take a look at really close up of all of these individual designs and get some really cool, unique images of each of them. So enough gushing over the actual subject today. I do want to photograph these, and we're going to be trying to photograph them to really do them justice. They are amazing pieces. There's a lot of effort gone into the way that they look, all of the different colors and the designs on each flip die. I keep wanting to call them dice, but also coins, but flip die, I suppose, is the proper term. I'm going to be trying to make them all look slightly unique from one another, but keep them together as a set in these images. I want to photograph each one so that it really shows off the design, but also introduce a little bit of color and uniqueness to each image so that they could be used individually or as a set, perhaps as product images or something like that. You can apply all of this to your own products. Not every product is going to be exactly the same every single time, and sometimes you do want to have a little bit of variation in your images. Maybe you're photographing coins, maybe you're photographing dice, maybe it's something else entirely, but all of the techniques that we're about to use will still be useful for you to shoot your own products or interesting knickknacks that you might come across. So let's check out the photography setup to get this kind of image. As you can see here, I'm looking down at one of my coins, which is on a slight angle. We've got a lot of color in here. Some of this is from the lighting, this little bit of red along the edge just here. All of this red just here is from my focus peaking setting. So you'll see that change as I change the focus on my image. It'll tell me whereabouts in my image is the most in focus. You can see that we've got some really nice settings here. This is at f11, 100th of a second, and ISO 250. So our lighting is doing some really great work to make this really nice and bright. We'll come to our lighting in just a moment, but first of all, let's talk about our camera, lens and tripod setup. So this is a Sony a7 III with a 100mm f2.8 Tokina macro lens on the front there. So that's going to get us nice and close and capture all of that detail on the front of our coins. Over here, we've got a focus stacking rail. So all of that focus that I was just talking about, it's not going to matter too much because we are going to be moving our focus through the image using this rail and capture a full stack so that we can stack it and get nice in sharp in focus image. I've got all of that sat on a tripod on top of my table, so I'm actually going to be shooting downwards onto my coins today, and I've got all of that pointing down at my coin, which is sat on a black background. Now that black background is really important. We'll talk about that in just a moment, but first of all, let's talk about how I've raised that coin up off the ground. It's just sat on a little piece of plastic and then some blue tack under there to give it that angle. I really like that angle. I want it to look like it's flipping in midair, so I'm going to be changing that angle around as I take my photographs of my different coins. Now, once you've got all of this set up, it's going to be really quick and easy to change out those different coins for each other, and you just need to take a quick thought as to your lighting, the angle that the light is coming from, and also that color. So you can see here that we've got a little bit of red light shining at that corner of the coin just here, and I want that because I want to highlight this little edge. The other two lights are shining at the front of the coin, and it's just a nice natural white light that's going to keep the front of that coin nice and representative. The coins are all different colors and they've got different color highlights on them as well, so I want that to be accurate, so I'm just using white light. We've got two white lighting arms pointing at the front of the coin and then just that nice colored highlight on the side. Now, all of this lighting is powered by the Adaptalux Studio, so you can see the Adaptalux control pod just here sat on a little mini tripod of its own, and then into the front of that we've got those three lighting arms plugged in, and it's really easy to bend and manipulate these lights to be exactly where you need them to be, which is pretty critical for a nice reflective subject like this. Finding the exact spots that your lighting needs to be in is not always easy, but when you've got nice small lights that you can move around really easily, it's a joy to photograph something like this. Anybody that's used a macro lens before will know that getting up close provides a very shallow depth of field. That means not much of your image is in focus at once. For a product shot, that's not very helpful. We want to be able to demonstrate and show off all of the features of the product in all of their glory. It's no good having some of the detail in the back of your image completely blurred out. The customer just won't be able to see what they need to see on their images. So we're going to try and eliminate that entirely by stacking our photos. This is a process whereby we use a focus stacking rail, which looks something like this. This is a fairly cheap one, but it allows you to move your camera forward and back and also side to side through your images. We're only interested in that front to back motion today, and we're going to be moving in small increments while taking photos, and that's going to create something called a stack. It's going to be a series of images with cross sections of your product in focus. We can then put all of those into a piece of software. I'm using Helicon Focus, and that software will stack them all together to create a single image that's completely in focus. Now, there is a little bit more complexity to it than that, but I will link up in the top right hand corner to a bigger explanation on exactly how you can do this specifically for product photography. Now, if you're familiar with focus stacking, you'll know that there's quite a lot of work involved. So I'm going to get started in stacking all of my images to hopefully make them really stand out in their perfect sharpness. So I'm shooting the Medusa coin just here, really lovely design, but I wanted to highlight the color of this coin, which is sort of a bronzy color, using the amber lighting arm. So this is just adding a nice orangey shade across the edge just here, which I think works really nicely for this particular coin. But I wanted to talk to you about the placement of our lighting and the importance of this black backdrop just here. This is actually one of our background gradient cards, which have all sorts of lovely colors on them, but this one we included just as plain black, just to do something like this. So I want the background of these coins to be really dark, at least in the camera. And the way to do that is by reducing as much light on the background as possible. The first step to that is getting a nice black surface like this, which is going to absorb most of the light. You can see here that there is some of this light still reflecting on that black backdrop. That is a little bit inevitable from these two white lights pointing downwards, but this colored light you do want to make sure is pointing upwards. If you point it too far down, you can see that we're going to get orange on the backdrop down here, and it's also going to cast a shadow from whatever your coin is standing on. There is a way to combat this, and that is just changing the beam angle of your lights here. You can see that that's narrowing down a little bit. So if you do find that you're spilling too much light onto your backdrop, you can just narrow down the lighting beam angle a little bit to make sure that it doesn't spill. The very last thing to do with our coin images is some editing, and this is a really simple process if you've done all of your lighting and composition right in the camera. First of all, you need to process your focus stack, and then it's a simple case of removing what's left of the background, and maybe some of your lights are in the frame, but that's not a problem. Just select your coin, delete the background, and then you can fill that in with a pure black background. I also chose to add a little bit of a gradient back into the background, just around where the highlighted color is, and I think that leaves us with a really nice image. Now, although there's been a lot of work involved with all of that focus stacking, I have had a lot of fun shooting these Flipdie, and they really are very interesting items. I'd like to know from you guys whether or not you think my photography has done them justice. There's a lot of interesting and unique designs in these dice, and hopefully my photography has just helped to highlight that, to bring a little bit of extra interest into what would normally be some fairly plain photos of some interesting items, but a little bit of extra color, all of that focus stacking to really show off the details. I think it comes together to create a nice series of images that do show off these dice in all of their glory. Now, I will link to the Flipdie down in the description because they are really interesting and unique items, and they started off on Kickstarter just like the Adaptalux Studio, so we like to support Kickstarters as well. Hopefully I'm going to be rolling lots of D20s in the future. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, hit the like button, hit subscribe for lots more macro photography tutorials, ideas and inspiration coming in the future. But for now, that is all I've got time for. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.